So the ask from the team was that I speak about skills gap analysis and identifying future work needs. And from the ask, I saw a few things that that need mentioning, and this is what I'm going to touch on in my talk today. So designing cohesive skills development strategy, which is something we do in leadership, people managers, and particularly in HR. Future focused, so not only looking now, but looking to the future. And then practical steps for conducting effective quantitative and qualitative skills gap analysis. Also needed to highlight the critical skills necessary for supporting digital transformation and the skills that are likely to become obsolete through automation, artificial intelligence, and other technological innovations. So many things have been touched upon. I hope not to repeat what have been touched upon earlier, but I wanted to focus first on why. I don't know who is a history buff here. Anybody who is a history fan? Like me, I watch a lot of documentaries. Can you identify that ruin? The ruin in the picture. See, if you're a history buff, you'll see that the world is full of ruins that, show old civilizations, long past, the pyramids of Egypt. In Southern America, it's also full of ruins of Aztec tribes and so forth. Because humans have been around for hundreds of millions of years. But what's interesting is, even for the pyramids, which are in our continent, nobody knows how they were built, why they were built, but they exist. And I was doing this to show an example with work or jobs that existed in the past that are being rendered impractical by the passage of time and technology. There's so many jobs in security and military. Nowadays, you see news, you see drones are the ones that attack people. See, it's not even people. Huh? So fighter jet pilots probably are in less demand. Now they sit in a room and then drive the drone and conduct a mission. Retail services. If you watch news, you'll see retail shops like Amazon, where you can go collect what you need and you simply walk out. So the tellers, ciao, gone. Accountants and bookkeepers, in the near future, these skills will no longer be required because of Nini. Let me see if you're listening. This thing called blockchain. Yeah. Bank clerks, my colleagues, Emmanuel would agree with me. Before account opening was such a task, probably took a couple of days. Nowadays, I think NMB, our competitor, was the first to do this in the market. You can do it by phone, and it takes a few minutes. It will give you a threshold of depositing until you go, of course, and give your ID and stuff physically, because not everybody can be trusted. But you can do it. Something that would take days now takes a few minutes. So I just wanted to draw a parallel between, the physical fossils of old civilization and these jobs that were once important. And as I'm speaking, I remember somebody mentioned secretary. My poor late mom was a PA. I remember in the old days she used to practice shorthand. Shorthand, yeah. But by the early 90s, I think that was a thing of the past. She had to go and do MS Word and Excel like me. So yeah, but why should we care? I think that's the question. And Professor Nkoma alluded to that earlier on in his presentation. Because yes, there are jobs that disappear and livelihoods. But also, along with that, there are organizations that are phased out. Many of you that read would remember the case of Kodak. It's a famous case. I teach it very often when I teach. Once a very prominent photography company, but they failed to see the trends of the market, even though they innovated actually digital photography. Recent years we saw Nokia, yeah, no longer exists. So we should care because the loss of these jobs not only impacts the individuals who lose the jobs and their families, but also impact organizations and make them fail to perform, to reach the objective and to make profit. In its 2018 Future of Jobs report, the World Economic Forum stated that by 2022, that was last year, no less than 54% of all workers will need to bring up to date or switch their competencies as a result of rapid technological developments and an increasing digitalization that affect both our personal and professional lives. If you look at McKinsey, I was looking at McKinsey reports when I was researching, they're estimating by year 2030, about 800 jobs will be lost by automation. Isn't that crazy? So if you fail to focus your future needs and to adjust, to upskill, the words that have been used by other presenters, to upskill, to reskill, means your business is at risk, your organization is at risk, and your job is at risk. And this could impact the economy as well. So it's important that business owners, I don't want to speak to just HR, because I think the impact is bigger, in my humble opinion. Business owners, and many of us here have, apart from our main jobs, we have businesses. It's important that business owners, HR leaders, and people managers identify what skills and knowledge are currently missing in the workplace, in their workplace, and what will be required for the organization to perform effectively in the future in order to sustain itself. So across all industries, what this means is that certain jobs will disappear due to automation, as I said earlier, while others will change forms in terms of the core tasks and responsibilities. So this is where things like job redesign become relevant, rearranging the tasks and responsibilities and aligning them with the changing reality of work. And from this point, that's where I think my core topic comes in. That's where the importance of skills gap analysis kicks in. As the term itself says, basically it's about determining the skills required to achieve a skill gap analysis determines the skills required to achieve an acceptable level of performance. So it's used in the office, technical craft workers, for benchmarking the competencies required and also revising the learning and development interventions required. So this is an important part of your tool set as a business owner, business leader, HR leader. It is something that you need to do not once every 5 years. I think it's something that you need to do regularly. Otherwise, you are at risk and your organization is at risk. So it's a tool that helps us to find a way to find which skills and knowledge are lacking among the employees in the organization. And once this information is available, then HR, jointly with the leadership, this literature writes HR, but if you don't work with the leadership, with the key stakeholders, nothing will be achieved. So HR with leadership can address skills gap in the organization. I need not repeat those words that have been repeated so many times, upskilling and reskilling. So when you're talking about future needs, it's basically trying to anticipate what happens down the road 5, 10 years. So it's not just about now. It's not just about being able to make the table now if you have a company that makes furniture, but what developments will come down the road, about visualizing what will come down the road and being able to anticipate the skill set and competencies that are required, and then teaching the people that you have accordingly. What are the things that contribute to a skills gap? Before I go on a step-to-step, just high-level view of skills gap analysis. One, technological change, and I'm mindful as I say, this is probably a repeat. Economic change, demographic change. So to conduct a future-focused skills gap analysis, organizations can use a number of methods. The one I'm most familiar with, and that is used more often, is a qualitative. You survey employees and employers. You analyze job postings. You track trends. You have to read widely in technology and the economy. And this helps you identify. One of the examples that came to mind as I was preparing for this is in my first job as a training manager, I was at the cigarette factory. I remember doing a training needs around 2000, 2001, and this is when the country was gearing to adopt what they call PLC, automation technology. The factory was full of people, and first thing that we saw is that because these machines were, programmed, we needed to train people on basic, use of computers. And Excel and Word to write reports, to manipulate reports. I'm normally fast. How come? I'm told I have 5 minutes left. So yeah, so we had to train hundreds and hundreds of employees who operated the machinery, how to use computers, and then of course that came with naturally with a retrenchment, because if a machine, for example, a tobacco processor that needed 20 people to operate per shift, basically after the exercise, after installation of new machinery, needed maybe 5 or 6 at most. So quickly maybe on qualitative skills gap analysis. First of all, you always have to figure out what your business goals are. I'm not sure you can see, but I'll talk. What are your business goals? And you cannot do this alone as an HR practitioner, ICT practitioner. If it's an organization, you need to align this with your leadership team. Understand long-term goals. So looking at the future strategy of the organization. Then you have to decide, actually you have to combine between doing individual analysis and then team assessments. So in this example at the cigarette factory that I just gave you, it was not a matter of individuals, it's that the whole factory basically needed upskilling. Everybody in the factory needed how to write, to move from writing manual reports on Excel, on books, on paper, into producing Excel. They needed to know how to use emails. And so forth. So you'll conduct a needs analysis on both groups and classes of employees as well as the individuals. And from there you figure out what skills you need to achieve the goals that you have for the organization. Then measure skills internally. You have to create a scale where you measure competency, maybe between 1 and 10, so that you know where the gap is, and then finally create a plan to address the gap. And in many cases, it will end up being a multi-year plan, but also with the process sometimes come casualties of people having to drop off. We don't love that as HR people, but it comes with the territory. And then you have reskilling, upskilling, and outsourcing and mentoring, coaching, which Vivian, my colleague from Vodacom, spoke about. I was asked to mention skills that support digital transformation, but I will not talk much about because I think various speakers mentioned them. Digital literacy. Vivian had a comprehensive list there. Digital security. As she was speaking earlier, I saw an email from my office pretending to come from I think from a vendor, but basically they were testing me whether I read carefully enough, and I'll report a phishing attack. It was an email from ASPA instead of ABSA Africa. So digital security, big issue. Digital marketing. If you ever any business now, you have to be digital savvy in terms of marketing your product, whether it's real estate or digital products. Data analysis, metaverse, DevOps, blockchain mentioned, artificial intelligence, and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, I think given the time limits, let me take a pause there. Thank you very much.